General Marcus Rivera stood motionless before the holographic display in Earth Defense Command's underground facility, his weathered face illuminated by the soft blue glow of countless stars. The display showed the latest data from Perseus Colony, life support failures, mysterious diseases, and unexplained technological malfunctions. It was the 7th colony to report such issues this month. "Tell me again what we found in the crashed Valerian ship," he commanded, his voice steady despite the rage building inside him. Director Kira Patel stepped forward, her quantum tablet projecting detailed scans into the air. "The ship's database contained decades of classified research, General. The Valerians have been using our outer colonies as test sites for their biological and technological experiments. They've been deliberately sabotaging our development while pretending to be our benevolent protectors." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. For 3 centuries, the Valerian Alliance had positioned themselves as humanity's guides to the stars, claiming to protect Earth from making the same mistakes that had nearly destroyed other young civilizations. They had established strict technological development guidelines, carefully monitored human expansion, and provided approved technologies to their supposed protégés. "Show me the mortality figures again," Rivera requested, his fingers tightening behind his back. "Over 50,000 deaths in the past year alone, sir. The Valerians disguised them as accidents, equipment failures, or natural causes. Their experimentation has become more aggressive since they detected unusual energy signatures from Saturn's rings." Kira's voice trembled slightly as she continued, "They're getting nervous about something we're doing, but they haven't figured out what." Rivera allowed himself a grim smile. The Valerians had good reason to be nervous, though they had no idea just how justified their fears were. Deep within the ice rings of Saturn, hidden from the Alliance's sophisticated scanning technology by quantum distortion fields, humanity had spent the last 50 years preparing for exactly this moment. "Director Patel, initiate Protocol Nightfall," Rivera commanded. "And inform Admiral Hassan that Ghost Fleet is authorized to begin final preparations." Kira's eyes widened. "Sir, once we activate Nightfall, there's no going back. The Valerians will." "The Valerians have already demonstrated what they think of us," Rivera interrupted. "Every time they smiled while sabotaging our colonies, every time they preached peace while conducting experiments on our people, they wrote this ending themselves." He turned to face the assembled command staff, each face showing the same mixture of anticipation and grim determination. These were the few who had known the truth, who had spent decades helping to prepare humanity's response to the Alliance's betrayal. "Send a coded transmission to all our sleeper cells throughout Valerian space," he ordered. Authorization code, Renaissance Dawn. Throughout the galaxy, hidden human agents embedded in Valerian societies began receiving their activation orders. Some were diplomats' children who had spent their entire lives building cover identities. Others were enhanced humans who had undergone extensive genetic modification to pass as various alien species. All of them had waited years for this signal. In a secure chamber 50 levels below the command center, Dr. Samira Wong initiated the quantum encryption sequence that would protect Earth's communications from Valerian interference. The technology had been developed in absolute secrecy, using principles the Alliance didn't even know humans had discovered. "Ghost Fleet reports all systems go," announced Commander James Chen from his tactical station. "Quantum drives are spooled and ready. Stealth systems are at maximum efficiency." Rivera nodded, watching as status reports began flowing in from hidden bases throughout the solar system. Humanity's secret armada was emerging from its decades-long slumber, ships unlike anything the Valerians had ever encountered. While the Alliance had focused on preventing humans from developing along expected technological paths, humanity had simply found different paths. "Sir," Kira called out, her voice urgent. "We're detecting a Valerian diplomatic vessel requesting emergency landing clearance at the Luna facility. They're claiming to have vital information about a threat to Earth." "How convenient," Rivera replied. "They must have detected the early stages of Nightfall. Warn them off. If they persist." He paused, considering the poetic justice. They can test how well their shields hold up against the primitive nuclear weapons they allowed us to keep. The next few hours passed in a blur of activity as humanity's hidden strength emerged from the shadows. Quantum telecommunication satellites deployed throughout the solar system, establishing an unhackable command network. Stealth ships took up strategic positions around every major Valerian monitoring station. Enhanced soldiers infiltrated key Alliance facilities, ready to strike on command. "All units report ready, sir," Commander Chen announced. "Ghost Fleet is in position. Sleeper cells are activated. Dr. Wong reports quantum communications are fully operational." Rivera studied the tactical display one final time. Decades of preparation had led to this moment. The Valerians thought they knew everything about humanity, their technology, their capabilities, their psychology. They had studied Earth's histories of warfare and violence, using that knowledge to justify their protective restrictions. But they had missed something crucial. Humans were at their most dangerous not when they were violent, but when they were patient. For 3 centuries, humanity had smiled and nodded and played along with the Alliance's restrictions while secretly preparing for this day. "Send the initialization code to all Ghost Fleet vessels," Rivera commanded. "Primary targets only. Let's show our protectors exactly what their test subjects have learned." Throughout Valerian space, hidden human agents began their carefully coordinated attacks. Quantum bombs that bypassed Alliance shields materialized inside secure facilities. Computer systems crashed as dormant viruses activated. And in the darkness between the stars, humanity's Ghost Fleet prepared to demonstrate just how much mankind had advanced while playing the role of primitive students. The Valerian Alliance was about to learn a harsh lesson: never underestimate a species that had spent its entire history learning to survive against the odds. Humanity had not just survived the Alliance's experiments and sabotage, they had turned that adversity into the ultimate weapon. The breaking point had arrived, and with it, the dawn of a new era in galactic history. Operation Shadow Strike. The Valerian High Command Center on Proxima Centauri B gleamed like a jewel against the alien sky, its crystalline spires a testament to the Alliance's supposed technological superiority. Inside, Supreme Commander Zextal stared in disbelief at the reports flooding his quantum displays. "Impossible," he whispered, his iridescent scales shifting from their usual calm blue to an agitated purple. "How could we lose contact with all monitoring stations simultaneously?" His aide, Sub-Commander Vrin, nervously adjusted her ceremonial sash. "The humans show no unusual activity, Supreme Commander. Their primitive scanning technology continues to operate within expected parameters." "They're primitive." Zextal stopped mid-sentence as the building's lights flickered. For the first time in his 300-year career, he felt something he'd never expected to experience while dealing with humans: fear. In the shadows of the command center's maintenance tunnels, Lieutenant Jade Wong smiled as she watched her quantum viruses tear through the Valerian defense networks. The aliens had always assumed their technology was unhackable, failing to realize that humanity had developed entirely different approaches to computer science while pretending to struggle with approved technologies. "Ghost Team Alpha in position," she whispered into her neural communicator. "Defense systems are compromised. Proceeding to Phase 2. Throughout the massive complex, other human infiltrators moved silently through maintenance shafts and service corridors. Each wore adaptive camouflage suits that bent light around them, another primitive innovation the Valerians had never imagined possible. Admiral Rashid Hassan watched from the bridge of the GHS Nemesis as his fleet emerged from quantum space at precisely calculated points around the Valerian command center. The ships, invisible to conventional sensors, represented humanity's greatest technological achievement, vessels that operated on principles the Alliance had never even theorized. "All ships report ready, Admiral," his tactical officer, Lieutenant Nikolai Volkov, announced. "Quantum weapons are primed. Ground teams are in position." Hassan nodded, his dark eyes reflecting the tactical displays. Begin broadcast on all frequencies, including their supposedly secure channels. Throughout the Valerian complex, every communication device suddenly activated. Supreme Commander Zextal's scales turned almost white as he heard the transmission in perfect High Valerian. "This is Admiral Rashid Hassan of the Ghost Home Fleet. For 3 centuries, you have experimented on our people while claiming to protect us. You have sabotaged our colonies while preaching peace. That ends today." In the maintenance tunnels, Jade's team reached their primary objective, the Valerian Central Database. "Beginning data extraction," she reported. "You won't believe what I'm finding, Admiral. They've been conducting experiments on dozens of other species, not just humans. They've been playing God across half the galaxy." The Valerian security forces never saw the attack coming. Their shields, designed to stop any known weapon, proved useless against quantum-phased energy beams. Their automated defense systems, compromised by Jade's viruses, turned against them. And their vaunted tactical AI, which had analyzed countless battle scenarios, had no protocols for dealing with technologies it couldn't even detect. "Supreme Commander," Vryn called out, her voice shaking, "we're detecting multiple hull breaches. Something is cutting through our quantum-reinforced walls as if they were paper." Zextal watched in horror as shadows seemed to detach themselves from the walls. Human soldiers in phase-shift armor materialized throughout the command center, their weapons trained on vital systems and key personnel. "Impossible," he repeated, but with less conviction. "Your species is not capable of this level of advancement. We monitored everything. We controlled your development." "No," Jade said, decloaking directly in front of him, her quantum pistol aimed at his central nerve cluster. "You monitored what we wanted you to see. You controlled what we allowed you to control. And while you congratulated yourselves on keeping us primitive, we surpassed you in ways you never imagined possible." Admiral Hassan's voice echoed through the complex again, "Your arrogance was your weakness. You were so convinced of your superiority that you never considered we might develop technologies that operated on completely different principles. You studied our history of warfare but missed its most important lesson: humans are at their most dangerous when they're backed into a corner." Throughout Valerian space, similar scenes played out as humanity's hidden forces struck at key military and research installations. The Alliance's carefully maintained image of invincibility shattered as their most secure facilities fell to an enemy they had dismissed as primitive. "Download complete," Jade reported, securing the quantum drive containing centuries of Valerian secrets. "You should see this, Admiral. They were planning to implement something called the final solution for humanity. They were going to sterilize our entire species because their projections showed we might surpass them within 1,000 years." Hassan's voice turned cold. "It seems we surpassed their timeline by quite a bit. Secure all prisoners. Prepare for Phase 3. As human forces consolidated their control over the facility, Supreme Commander Zextal watched his world collapse around him. "Why?" he asked Jade. "We gave you technology, guided your development, protected you from your own violent nature." Jade's laugh was without humor. "Protected us? You experimented on us. You killed our people. You planned our extinction. And worst of all, you lied to us. You pretended to be mentors while acting like predators." She leaned closer, her voice dropping to a whisper. "We could have been allies. We could have shared our innovations, worked together. Instead, you chose to treat us like lab rats. Now you get to experience what that feels like." Operation Shadow Strike had succeeded beyond humanity's highest expectations. The Valerian Alliance's command structure was decapitated, their defenses compromised, and their secrets exposed. But this was only the beginning. In the darkness between the stars, more Ghost Fleet vessels emerged from quantum space, ready to carry humanity's retribution to every corner of Alliance territory. The so-called primitive species was about to demonstrate just how far they had evolved beyond their supposed master's control. The massive holographic display in the GHS Nemesis's command center showed thousands of red dots representing Valerian military installations across the galaxy. One by one, they began turning green as humanity's ghost fleet revealed itself. Admiral Hassan watched with grim satisfaction as reports flooded in from every sector. "Status update," he commanded. "Ghost Fleet elements report successful quantum jumps to all primary targets," Lieutenant Volkov responded. "The Valerians are attempting to coordinate a response, but our quantum interference is keeping their communications fragmented. They can't figure out how we're blocking technologies they thought were unhackable." From her position in the captured Proxima Command Center, Lieutenant Jade Wong continued sifting through the Valerian database. "Admiral, you need to see this. I found their contingency plans for a human uprising. They never imagined we'd develop quantum technology. Their entire defense strategy was based on countering conventional weapons. Their mistake," Hassan replied, "was thinking they knew all possible paths of technological advancement." "Status of their main battle fleet?" "Still assembled at Rigel, sir," Volkov reported. "They're maintaining defensive positions around their capital. Our stealth scouts report they're frantically trying to adapt their sensors to detect our ships, but they're looking in completely the wrong direction." In the Rigel system, the Valerian Grand Fleet presented an impressive sight, 10,000 warships arranged in perfect formation around their throne world. High Admiral Kvax stood on his flagship's bridge, his scales shifting between colors as conflicting reports reached him. "How are they doing this?" he demanded. "Their technology is centuries behind ours. We made sure of it." His science officer, Dr. YRL, manipulated complex holographic displays with her 4 arms. "The energy signatures we're detecting don't match anything in our database. It's as if they're operating on physical principles we've never encountered." "Impossible. We've had observers on their world for 3 centuries. We know exactly what they're capable of." A junior officer interrupted with fresh urgency. "High Admiral. Multiple quantum distortions detected. Energy signatures they're everywhere." Around the Valerian fleet, space itself seemed to ripple as hundreds of human vessels phased into normal space. Unlike the sleek, crystalline designs of Valerian ships, these were dark, angular, and seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Admiral Hassan's voice echoed through every Valerian communication channel, "This is your only warning. The experiments end now. The suppression ends now. Surrender your vessels and prepare to face justice for your crimes against humanity." Kvax's scales flushed crimson with rage. "Justice? We uplifted you. We gave you the stars. All ships, open fire. Show these primitives the price of ingratitude." 10,000 Valerian warships unleashed their most powerful weapons. Energy beams capable of cutting through planets lanced out at the human fleet. But where they should have encountered shields or armor, the beams simply passed through empty space. "As expected," Hassan noted calmly. "Their targeting systems can't compensate for our quantum phase shifting. All ships, execute attack pattern Prometheus. Show them what humanity has achieved while they weren't looking." The Ghost Fleet's response demonstrated just how far humans had advanced beyond the Valerians' understanding. Ships phased in and out of normal space, appearing inside the Valerian formation. Quantum-tipped missiles bypassed supposedly impenetrable shields. Computer viruses that operated on principles the Alliance had never imagined shut down ship after ship. "Impossible." Kvax screamed as his flagship systems began failing. "We controlled every aspect of their development. We monitored every research facility." "No," Hassan's voice replied. "You monitored what we wanted you to monitor. Every failure you observed was carefully staged. Every limitation you recorded was a deception. While you congratulated yourselves on keeping us primitive, we were surpassing you in ways you couldn't even comprehend." The battle, if it could even be called that, lasted less than an hour. The pride of the Valerian fleet hung powerless in space, their crews watching in stunned disbelief as human boarding parties quantum shifted directly onto their bridges. From her position in the captured command center, Jade made another discovery that sent chills down her spine. "Admiral, I've found their files on other species they're guiding. There are dozens of civilizations being subjected to the same treatment we were. They're all being experimented on, all being held back." Hassan's expression hardened. "Send that data to Earth Command immediately. It seems our mission has expanded." He opened a channel to all human forces, all ships, prepare for Phase 4. "We're not just fighting for humanity anymore. Today, we free every species that these self-appointed gods have enslaved." The Ghost Fleet's victory at Rigel marked a turning point in the conflict. The Valerian Alliance's carefully maintained image of invincibility lay in ruins, along with their most powerful military force. But more importantly, humanity had demonstrated that there were paths to advancement that the Alliance had never even imagined possible. As human forces secured their prisoners and began analyzing captured Valerian technology, Admiral Hassan allowed himself a moment of reflection. The Alliance had spent centuries trying to prevent humanity from becoming a threat. In doing so, they had created exactly what they feared most, a species that had learned to think beyond the boundaries they tried to impose. The Ghost Fleet had risen, and with it, the dawn of a new era in galactic history. But the war was far from over. In hidden bases across Alliance space, desperate Valerian scientists began activating experimental weapons they had sworn never to use. The next phase of the conflict would test humanity's resolve in ways they had never imagined. Deep within the Valerian Throneworld's restricted research facility, desperation drove the Alliance's top scientists to break their own most sacred laws. Emergency pods containing experimental bioweapons were launched toward human-controlled sectors. Ancient weapons, deemed too dangerous to use, were awakened from their millennial slumber. "They're getting desperate," Lieutenant Jade Wong reported from her analysis station aboard the GHS Nemesis. "The bioweapons they're launching, they're designed to target what they think is human DNA." Admiral Hassan allowed himself a grim smile. Another example of their fatal arrogance. "Lieutenant Volkov, activate countermeasure protocol Darwin." Throughout human space, microscopic quantum machines sprang to life. These nanobots, developed in secret laboratories beneath Europa's ice, had been distributed throughout human populations years ago, waiting for this moment. As the Valerian bioweapons arrived, they found not the vulnerable targets they expected, but an adaptive defense system that turned their own weapons against them. "Sir," Volkov called out, "we're detecting massive energy signatures from the Valerian core worlds. They're activating something called the Eternal Light Array." Ancient weapons platforms, hidden in gas giants and asteroid fields, began powering up. These were the Alliance's ultimate deterrent, capable of sterilizing entire star systems. They had never been used, deemed too horrible even by Valerian standards. But humanity had prepared for this too. From quantum space, a new wave of Ghost Fleet vessels emerged. These ships were different, smaller, faster, piloted by human consciousness directly interfaced with quantum computers. They moved in ways that defied conventional physics, their paths impossible to predict or counter. "Neural pilots, you are cleared to engage," Hassan commanded. "Show them what happens when humans and machines work as one." The battle for the Eternal Light platforms demonstrated just how far humanity had surpassed their former oppressors. While the Valerians had focused on ever larger weapons, humans had perfected the integration of organic and quantum intelligence. Neural pilots danced through space itself, their consciousness expanded beyond normal human limitations. One by one, the ancient weapons fell silent, captured or destroyed by forces operating on principles their creators had never imagined possible. The Alliance's last desperate gambit had failed. Part 5, A New Dawn. In the Grand Chamber of the former Valerian High Council, representatives from 24 species gathered. Some were former subjects of Alliance experimentation. Others were ancient races who had watched the conflict from afar. All had come to witness something unprecedented, the formation of a new galactic order. General Rivera stood at the podium, his presence a symbol of humanity's transformation from test subjects to liberators. "We did not want this war," he began. "We would have preferred to join galactic society as equals, to share our innovations and learn from others. The Alliance chose a different path." He gestured to the massive displays showing the extent of Valerian experimentation on other species. But from their betrayal, something unexpected emerged. They sought to prevent cooperation between species, fearing what we might achieve together. Instead, they created a common cause that has united us. Lieutenant Jade Wong, now Director of Interspecies Scientific Cooperation, stepped forward. "We've begun sharing our quantum technology with other former subject species. Already, we're seeing incredible advances as different approaches to science and technology merge. What the Alliance feared most, genuine cooperation between diverse species, is becoming reality." The new Galactic Concordat was nothing like the Alliance's forced hierarchy. Each species contributed its unique perspectives and innovations. Humans shared their quantum technology and neural interface systems. Others brought biological sciences, social innovations, or philosophical insights that opened new paths of advancement. Admiral Hassan, watching from the GHS Nemesis, reflected on the irony. The Alliance had spent centuries trying to prevent humanity from becoming a threat to their power. In doing so, they had forced humans to develop in ways they never anticipated, leading to exactly the outcome they had feared most, a genuine partnership of species, advancing together in ways no single civilization could achieve alone. The captured Valerian leaders watched from their detention centers as their carefully maintained system of control crumbled. Supreme Commander Zextau, his scales now permanently gray with defeat, finally understood their fundamental mistake. They had studied humanity's capacity for violence and destruction, but failed to recognize their even greater capacity for innovation, adaptation, and cooperation. As the newly formed Concordat began its work, ships of all species began exploring the galaxy together. The quantum barriers that had separated civilizations fell away. Knowledge flowed freely between worlds that had once been kept artificially isolated. And in research centers throughout known space, scientists of all species worked together, pushing the boundaries of possibility in ways the Alliance had never imagined. Humanity had emerged from centuries of suppression not just as warriors, but as teachers, partners, and guides to a new age of galactic cooperation. The peaceful stars had learned an important lesson: true strength lies not in controlling others, but in working together to achieve what no species could accomplish alone. The story of humanity's rise from test subjects to leaders of a galactic renaissance would be told for generations to come. But perhaps more importantly, it would be told alongside the stories of all the other species who had seized their chance at freedom and joined together to create something greater than any one civilization could have achieved alone. As the first ships of the new combined exploration fleet prepared to venture into unknown space, Admiral Hassan sent a final message to Earth Command: "The stars are no longer our prison. They are our shared frontier." The age of the Alliance was over. The age of cooperation had begun. End of story.